The Employee Lifecycle Performance Curve is a measure of ROI generated by an employee as they progress in your business over time. This performance curve looks slightly different in every organisation, but by mapping out a typical example, we can identify several critical ROI control points that can be leveraged to help people increase performance while deriving maximum profitability for your bottom line. In this example, we'll look at a typical 200 headcount business in the professional services industry. We'll assume an annual attrition rate of 15% and an average salary of $70,000 a year. As a new hire is onboarded, they go through a phase that requires investment by the organisation to get them to the point of break-even, at which time the employee generally starts to generate more value for the organisation than it costs to employ them. In a skilled role, the average new starter could take up to 6 to 9 months to reach this break-even point. That's up to $52,500 just in wage costs, not to mention the additional costs of recruitment and all the soft costs involved with the hiring process. With these costs considered, we can estimate the new employee will actually need to generate close to $100,000 in revenue before the organisation breaks even on their investment. At an attrition rate of 15%, this business would be losing 30 people per year. That's easily $3 million out the door with no real returns. The faster you can accelerate this onboarding period, the faster your new hire can start bringing returns to the business. Empowering employees with self-managed goals, encouraging relevant industry training, and enabling two-way feedback are just a few ways you can place new employees on track for success from day one and help them arrive at the break-even point as soon as realistically possible. Only when an employee reaches the break-even point have they generated revenue for the business equal to the cost of their employment. This means the next priority is to take their performance to the next level. It's important to note here that there can be a significant gap between an individual maintaining an average performance and actually performing at their peak. When employees are empowered, have the right mix of ability, motivation and opportunity, plus the right workplace culture, they can take their performance to the next level, peak performance. The difference between average and peak performance can also mean the difference between that employee staying or leaving. It can also mean hundreds of thousands of dollars or even millions in additional revenue that can be generated when peak performance is achieved. It is while an employee is at peak performance, they are deriving maximum profitability for the organisation. So it's important to not only reach this point, but also sustain it for as long as possible. Time is a key factor in this journey. The faster you can accelerate an employee to peak performance, the greater cost savings you can achieve and the higher profit generation you can assist the employee to contribute. Peak performance typically lasts anywhere from 2 to 4 years. But why doesn't it last longer? It's not uncommon for an employee's role to stagnate or for training to become less of a priority as experience increases. This can result in boredom or lack of purpose, triggering a decline in performance and eventually an exit from the business. This decline can be prevented or turned around if employees remain engaged and constantly developing throughout their tenure. This is aided by continuous feedback between managers and their direct reports, regular check-ins as opposed to annual performance reviews, and fostering a culture of training and lifelong learning for all staff, regardless of experience levels. When peak performance is not maintained, we see the initiation of declining performance, another critical control point where losses can be minimised if managed correctly. It is vital organisations spot declining performance in real time and reverse the effects, or if necessary, aid the employee to exit the business. If this example employee began to decline in performance and was operating below the break-even point for 6 months, that's $35,000 in sunk wages, costs the organisation can never recover. This is not to mention the opportunity cost of their lost productivity during this time and other associated employee overheads that could better be invested elsewhere. In the next video in this series, we'll take a deep dive into the onboarding phase of the employee lifecycle and uncover more tips on how to set up employees for success from the start. Would you like to see how we estimated the figures in this video? Discover what the costs would be for your organisation with our free Cost of Employee Turnover Calculator.